Good morning. We are going to start by having a little introduction to our new materials, highlighters, and 3 pens. So you'll want those materials as well as your sketchbook. Go ahead and open up your sketchbook to a nice clean page and just follow along. Anything that I put in my sketchbook, you're going to be putting in your sketchbook. So when we're working with new materials, it's nice to get a feel for what the materials look like on the paper. Sometimes it's hard to tell when you're just looking at the outside of a pen or the outside of a highlighter. And so we're going to take our skinniest pen. It's called the Mars Black 048. And up in the top left, we're going to make 3 little marks. And then we're going to write skinniest black pen. And just so that we can remind ourselves what the pen itself looks like, in parentheses, we're going to write dark gray barrel. The barrel is the outside of the pen. Now we can cap that, put that away. For comparison's sake, we're next going to look at the ultra fine point, which is in the light gray barrel. 3 lines. And we're going to call this the thin black pen. And in parentheses, describing what the pen looks like on the outside, light gray barrel. And then with the largest of our pens, it's called a fine point. It's in the white barrel. And if we open it up, it looks like a traditional Sharpie. 1, 2, 3. We're going to call this thick black pen. And this is with the white barrel. Now you might notice that this pen comes to a tip. So if you use the very tip of the pen versus if you use the side of the pen, you'll get slightly thinner or thicker lines. And pressure also makes a difference. So using your thick pen, try to make a very thin line using the tip and no pressure. And then try to make very thick lines using the side of the pen. Keep that in mind. This pen is kind of multifunctional in that way. Next, we're going to give ourselves a little chart that shows us what our highlighters look like. We have 4 sets of highlighters. The longer, flatter highlighters are actually Bible highlighters. So one of the weird things about this, they really are beautiful colors, but the colors on the highlighters don't always match the color of the barrel of the highlighter or the outside of the highlighter pen. So we're going to give ourselves a little graph so that we can come back to it, and when we're picking colors of highlighters, we'll refer to the graph instead of the outside of the barrel, which might not be accurate. The light and the bright highlighters in these packages tend to be better represented by the color of their barrels, but we're going to make ourselves a little chart for all of our materials that we can refer to. So let's start with the 1 through 6 Bible highlighters, and we're just going to take those out, and we're going to make a mark for each one. And then we're going to number the mark, which corresponds to the number on the barrel. So this is number 1. I'm just going to make a highlight and then put it down, keeping it in order. This is 2. Three. 4, 5, 6, 6. And we'll keep going. 7. Make sure that you keep these in order because you'll be using those numbers. 8. Woo! See, this is a great example. It looks like a really pastel pink, but boy, that is nice and vivid. 9. 10. 11. And 12. Oh, I do like that green. Isn't that pretty? And then give it just a second to dry. And we're going to take our thinnest dark gray barrel pen, the skinniest one that we have, and we'll just write the numbers. You can either write it right below, right above, or right on top of your highlights. I'm just going to write it kind of below. It's up to you though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So now you have a visual reference of those colors that coordinate with the numbers and that's more accurate than the barrels themselves. Let's do the same thing with our lights and then our brights. These might be mixed up and I do not have them numbered. So if they're already mixed up in your barrel, they don't necessarily have a specific order. I'm going to go ahead and order them more like a rainbow. So my blue goes into my green into my yellow, yellow into orange, orange into pink, pink into purple. Okay, so these are all pale pastels. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. You can do another row. So that's my lightest blue, my lightest green, my lightest yellow, my lightest orange. I'm purposefully putting a little bit more space between these. My lightest pink and my lightest purple. And then I'm going to give these, they don't have numbers on them. So I'm just going to name them light blue LB, light green LG, light yellow L double Y, L O for light orange, LP for light pink, and LPU for light purple. Okay, put those aside. We can go ahead and color organize these as well, starting with the bright blue, bright green, bright yellow, bright orange, bright pink, and bright purple. So it coordinates with this grouping, but they're the bright instead of the light group. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing. That's my bright blue. That's my bright green. Bright yellow, again moving, making a little more space between them. These are almost neon. Maybe we should call them neon instead of bright. That kind of makes more sense to me. I think I'll do that. All right, so neon. Okay, so I'm gonna name these NB for neon blue, You can say BB for bright blue, whatever works for you. Neon green, neon yellow, neon, this is very neon orange, neon pink, and neon purple. This is a great little chart to make regardless of the materials, but especially if they're materials that are new to you, just so visually you have an idea of what it looks like before you get going on your project. And if you've left room, you can write up at the top. Maybe I'll use my thick marker, pens, and highlighters. If you don't have room to write this up at the top, you can write it on the side, you can write it underneath. These notes are for you. I do want you to have the information, but whatever it looks like in your sketchbook, your notes are for you. And we can use our thin pen and write Bible highlighters with a nice little arrow to help us remember that these are the Bible highlighters. Maybe over here we write neon highlighters. And then maybe over here, however it makes sense to you with your notes, these are light highlighters. We are going to add a very important note to ourselves. We are going to give a little star to this skinniest black pen and write not permanent. The reason this is important is because when you're working with ink and then you're adding highlighter to the top of it, since highlighter is wet, then if it's not permanent, it can smudge the ink. If, however, you're putting the highlighter down first and then ink on top, it doesn't matter. So it's all about the order of things. And these two are permanent. So we want to just kind of keep that in mind when we're choosing to use that skinniest pen. Great job, guys.